The rain drummed steadily against the tin roof of Nash's motorcycle repair as Raven Nash finished polishing the chrome on a restored vintage Harley. Thunder rolled in the distance, but something about this storm felt different. The air crackled with an energy that made the hairs on her arms stand up. Through the garage's open door, a brilliant purple light cut through the rainfall, casting otherworldly shadows across her workshop. Raven set down her polishing cloth and stepped outside, squinting through the downpour. A sleek vessel, unlike any aircraft she'd ever seen, descended silently into the empty lot behind her shop. The ship's surface rippled like liquid metal, shedding raindrops in mesmerizing patterns. A seam appeared in its seamless hull, spreading into an entrance. Raven's hand instinctively went to the wrench in her back pocket as a figure emerged. The alien was tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to capture and reflect starlight. Her eyes were completely black except for points of light that danced like distant galaxies. She wore what appeared to be living armor that shifted and moved with her every gesture. "I am Princess Nyx of Asteria," the being announced, her voice carrying despite the rain. "And I believe I've found what I've been searching for." Raven tightened her grip on the wrench. "If you're looking for a tune-up, I usually prefer appointments." A sound like wind chimes echoed through the rain. Nyx was laughing. "I'm not here for vehicle maintenance, though your skill with machines is part of what drew me here. I've been monitoring this sector, searching for a potential mate who possesses both technical expertise and adaptability." "A mate?" Raven's wrench clattered to the ground. "Look, I'm flattered, but I typically prefer dinner first." "Your humor," another attractive quality. Nyx stepped closer, seemingly unbothered by the rain. "On Asteria, we believe true leadership requires understanding of all perspectives. Our ruling class must form bonds with beings from other worlds to maintain wisdom and prevent stagnation." Before Raven could respond, a high-pitched whine filled the air. 3 smaller craft appeared above them, their designs angular and aggressive compared to Nyx's vessel. "Hunters," Nyx hissed, her armor rippling with agitation. "The Eternal Council wasn't supposed to track me here." The ships opened fire, energy bolts sizzling through the rain. Nyx grabbed Raven's arm, pulling her toward the alien vessel. "I apologize for involving you, but if we don't leave now, they'll destroy everything in their pursuit, including your shop." Raven glanced back at her life's work, then at the attacking ships. Her decision crystallized in an instant. "Your ship got any mechanical issues I should know about?" "The quantum drive could use some optimization," Nyx replied, a smile playing across her starlit features. "Well then," Raven said, snatching up her toolbox as they ran. "Sounds like you came to the right mechanic." They reached Nyx's ship just as another barrage of energy weapons carved trenches in the earth around them. The interior was organic and mechanical at once, with surfaces that pulsed with life and interfaces that seemed to float in the air. "I hope you're a fast learner," Nyx said as they strapped in. "Because you're about to get a crash course in alien technology." "Fast learning keeps you alive in my line of work," Raven replied, studying the strange controls. "Though I have to admit, this is a bit more advanced than a Harley." The ship lifted off, weaving through the energy blasts as Nyx piloted them toward the stars. Raven's world had just expanded beyond anything she'd imagined, but somehow she felt more alive than ever. As Earth shrank behind them, and the hunters gave chase, she realized that her skills with machines might just help save 2 worlds, assuming they survived long enough to use them. The Asterian capital ship loomed before them, a massive structure of crystalline spires and flowing metal. Raven pressed her hand against the viewport, still processing how quickly her life had changed. Just hours ago, she'd been fixing motorcycles in Oregon. Now she was staring at an alien civilization's seat of power. "The Eternal Council demands our immediate presence," Nyx said, her starlit eyes dimming with concern. "They're not known for their patience or understanding." Their ship docked in a cavernous bay filled with vessels that made Nyx's impressive craft look primitive by comparison. Armed guards awaited them, their armor similar to Nyx's but darker, almost predatory in appearance. Princess Nix, the lead guard's voice, resonated metallically. You have violated Protocol 7 of the succession laws. The human must be evaluated. Raven stepped forward, squaring her shoulders. I have a name. It's Raven Nash. The guard's helmet tilted slightly. Designation noted. Follow. They were led through corridors that seemed to breathe, walls shifting and changing as they passed. Other Asterians stopped to stare at Raven, their galaxy-filled eyes widening with either curiosity or disgust. She couldn't tell which. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater, with 7 thrones hovering at different heights. Each was occupied by a being that radiated power and ancient knowledge. Their armor was ornate, moving like liquid starlight. Princess Nix, the central figure, spoke, voice echoing with multiple harmonics. Explain your breach of protocol. High Chancellor Vorax. Nix bowed slightly. I chose to seek my mate without the traditional observers, because our customs have become stagnant. We claim to value diverse perspectives, yet we treat potential mates like specimens to be studied. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Raven noticed guards shifting positions, hands moving closer to their weapons. And you? Vorax turned his attention to Raven. A simple mechanic. What could you possibly offer our civilization? With respect, Raven met his gaze steadily. I don't think you understand what a mechanic actually does. We're problem solvers. Innovators. We take broken things and make them work again, often better than before. From what I've seen of your politics, you might need someone with those skills. The chamber erupted in outrage. Vorax raised a hand, silencing the chaos. You dare criticize our ways? I dare to suggest that any system that fears outside perspective might need maintenance. Raven felt Nix's hand squeeze her arm in warning, but she continued. Your ships are incredible, but even they need repair sometimes. Maybe your traditions do too. Enough. Vorax stood, his armor blazing. Princess Nix, you have brought an infection into our midst. The human will be contained and studied. Guards. No. Nix's armor shifted, forming protective spikes. Raven is under my protection. By ancient law, any chosen mate has diplomatic immunity until the bonding period ends. Vorax's eyes narrowed. Then we will wait. But know this. Accidents happen frequently to those who challenge the old ways. Both of you will be watched closely. As they were escorted out, Raven noticed other council members exchanging looks. Not all of them seemed to share Vorax's hostility. That could have gone better, Nix muttered as they hurried through the corridors. Could have gone worse too, Raven replied. At least we learned who our enemies are. Now we just need to figure out who our friends might be. You handled yourself well in there, Nix said, though perhaps with more directness than our culture is used to. Sometimes a mechanic needs to strip away the corrosion to fix what's broken. Raven watched guards following them at a distance. But right now, I think we need to focus on staying alive long enough to make any changes. They reached Nix's private quarters, a sprawling suite with views of Asteria's 3 moons. But even the spectacular vista couldn't distract from the gravity of their situation. We'll need allies, Nix began pacing. There are others who question the Council's rigid ways, but reaching them without being detected. Then we do what any good mechanic does, Raven smiled grimly. We work with the tools we have, improvise what we need, and fix this thing one piece at a time. Outside, the capital city glittered like a jeweled web, beautiful but dangerous. Somewhere in that maze of crystal and metal, both threats and allies awaited. The game had begun, and the stakes were nothing less than their lives, and possibly the future of 2 civilizations. The underground markets of Asteria's capital thrummed with forbidden energy. Raven followed Nix through winding passages lit by bioluminescent fungi, marveling at the mix of advanced technology and shadowy commerce. They traded their distinctive armor for simple cloaks, hoping to blend with the crowd. The resistance contacts should be here, Nix whispered, leading them toward a shop displaying what appeared to be salvaged ship parts. Raven's mechanic's eye caught subtle modifications that suggested the pieces weren't just scrap. A figure emerged from behind the counter, tall and willowy like all Asterians, but with scars disrupting the starlight patterns of their skin. "Welcome to Thorn Salvage. Looking for anything specific?" "Parts for an old quantum drive," Nix replied with the coded phrase. "Pre-council design." The scared Asterian, presumably Thorn, activated a hidden panel. "Follow me. Quickly." They descended into a chamber filled with resistance members. Some were Asterians, others were species Raven had never seen. All shared the same determined look. Princess Nix, a resistance leader, stepped forward. Her name was Celine, and her armor bore marks of countless battles. "We've been expecting you since the council meeting." Your human's words caused quite a stir. "Just Raven is fine," Raven interjected. "And I'm guessing you're not fans of Vorax either." "The High Chancellor has twisted our traditions," Celine spat. "What began as wisdom, seeking outside perspectives through mate bonds, has become a tool of control. Most chosen mates are now perfectly compliant specimens, pre-selected to maintain the status quo." "That explains the hunters," Raven mused. "Vorax couldn't risk a genuine outsider influencing things." "Precisely." Thorn rejoined them. "But your arrival has sparked something. Already, whispers spread through the lower ranks. If a human mechanic can challenge the council." A sudden alarm blared. Thorn's eyes widened. "We've been compromised." Chaos erupted as guards burst in from multiple entrances. Raven grabbed a handful of spare parts, her mind racing. "Nix, help me with these." Together, they quickly assembled a makeshift sonic disruptor from the salvage. Raven's knowledge of engine harmonics combined with Nix's understanding of Asterian tech created something unexpected. "Cover your ears." Raven activated the device. A wave of sound hit the guards, their armor vibrating at exactly the wrong frequency. The crystalline components shattered, leaving them vulnerable. "The maintenance tunnels," Celine shouted, leading the way to hidden passages as more guards approached. They ran through a maze of service corridors, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. Raven's impromptu device had bought them time. But the council forces were regrouping. "We have safe houses throughout the city," Celine explained as they emerged in a different sector. "But they'll be watching them all now." "Then we need to do something they won't expect," Raven said, an idea forming. "Nix, you said the council keeps chosen mates under observation." "Right." "Yes, in special diplomatic quarters." Nix's eyes widened as she caught on. "They'd never expect us to hide there." "Because it's either brilliant or suicidal," Celine noted. "I'm starting to see why you chose this one, Princess." They split up, with resistance members creating distractions across the city. Raven and Nix made their way to the diplomatic sector, using their knowledge of the guards' protocols to slip through security. Inside their assigned quarters, Raven immediately began examining the monitoring systems. "If I can understand how they watch us, maybe I can feed them false data." "You continue to surprise me," Nix said softly, watching Raven work. "Most would be overwhelmed by all this." "I learned early on that everything can be fixed or improved," Raven replied, not looking up from the circuitry. "People, societies, relationships, they're all just complex machines when you get down to it. The trick is finding the right tools for the job." A comfortable silence fell between them as Raven worked and Nix kept watch. Both knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for now, they had found their rhythm. The princess and the mechanic, working to repair a broken system one piece at a time. The great engines of Asteria's orbital shipyards pulsed with energy as Raven and Nix moved through the shadows. 2 weeks of hiding, planning, and gathering allies had led to this moment. The resistance had identified their chance, the launching ceremony for the Council's new flagship. "Security patterns mapped," Raven whispered, checking the modified scanner she'd built from salvaged parts. "Looks like Vorax brought half the fleet." "Perfect." Nix's armor rippled with anticipation. "The more ships here, the fewer guarding the council chambers." They discovered that Vorax's power stemmed from more than just tradition. Hidden in secure databases, Raven had found evidence of suppressed technologies, erased histories, and eliminated opposition. The High Chancellor didn't just fear change. He actively destroyed it. Selene's resistance fighters were already in position, disguised as maintenance crews. Thorne had spent days smuggling modified components into the shipyard. Everything hinged on timing and Raven's understanding of both human and Asterian engineering. Remember, Raven adjusted the final settings on her device. We're not trying to destroy the fleet. We just need to prove the Council's corruption. Assuming we survive long enough to broadcast the evidence, Nix touched Raven's shoulder. Are you certain about this? About risking everything to expose a corrupt system? Raven managed a grim smile. Wouldn't be the first time. Though usually it just involves exposing crooked car dealerships. The ceremony began with Vorax's speech echoing through the shipyard. Below the pomp and ceremony, Raven's devices were already at work, interfacing with the ship's systems, gathering data, and preparing for what came next. Now, Nix signaled. Throughout the shipyard, Resistance members activated Raven's modifications. Ship after ship systems began displaying the truth, records of eliminated opposition, proofs of technological suppression, and evidence of Vorax's manipulation of the mate selection process. The High Chancellor's speech faltered as screens around him filled with his own secrets. Guards, this is treachery. But the guards hesitated, their own armor's displays revealing the extent of the corruption. Vorax's carefully maintained control was unraveling thread by thread. The time for hiding is over. Nix stepped forward, her voice carrying across the shipyard. We call for an immediate vote of the full council. Chaos erupted as loyalties shifted. Some guards moved to protect Vorax. Others stood with Nix. In the confusion, Raven spotted movement. Assassins approaching Nix from behind. Without thinking, Raven threw herself between Nix and the attackers. Her modified armor took the brunt of their energy weapons, but the impact sent her sprawling. Raven. Nix's cry held something more than concern for an ally. She unleashed a burst of power that sent the assassins flying. Selene's resistance fighters emerged in force, securing the shipyard section by section. The evidence was irrefutable, and with each passing moment, more of Vorax's support crumbled. This changes nothing. Vorax raged as guards surrounded him. Our ways have kept us strong for millennia. Your ways have kept us stagnant, Nix countered, helping Raven to her feet. Real strength comes from growth, from change, from learning to fix what's broken instead of hiding the cracks. As Vorax was led away, Raven leaned against Nix, injuries forgotten in the triumph of the moment. You know, for a princess, you're pretty good at revolution. And for a mechanic, you're quite skilled at saving worlds. Nix's reply was soft, meant for Raven alone. Though I suspect neither of us is quite the same person we were when this began. Around them, the shipyard hummed with new possibility. The old order was ending, but something more vibrant would take its place, built on understanding, growth, and the unlikely bond between a human mechanic and an alien princess who dared to challenge the stars themselves. The new council chamber bore little resemblance to its former incarnation. Gone were the hovering thrones and imposing architecture. Instead, representatives from all sectors of Asterian society and several allied worlds sat together in a circular arrangement that Raven had helped design. 3 months had passed since Vorax's fall. The transition hadn't been easy, but piece by piece, they'd rebuilt Asteria's governance from the ground up. Raven's practical approach to problem-solving had proven invaluable, introducing concepts of maintenance schedules and regular system checks to political processes that had grown rigid with age. The integration programs are exceeding expectations, Selene reported to the assembly. Now serving as security chief, her scared armor had become a symbol of positive change. More worlds seek diplomatic relations with us than ever before. And the mate selection process? Asked a council member. Reformed. Nix responded from her position as first speaker. We maintain the tradition of seeking outside perspectives, but without the coercion and control of the past. Each bond is now truly chosen, not merely arranged. Raven watched from her own seat, a position created to represent Earth's interests. Her garage back in Oregon had been rebuilt, upgraded with Asterian tech, and now served as an unofficial embassy. Young Asterians apprenticed there, learning Earth mechanics alongside human students studying alien technology. After the session, Raven found Nyx in their private gardens. The princess, though she rarely used that title now, was watching Asteria's 3 moons rise. "Credit for your thoughts?" Raven asked, using the Asterian phrase she'd picked up. "I was thinking about that night in the rain." Nyx turned, her galaxy eyes soft with memory. "When I landed at your shop, I thought I was following our traditions. Instead, I was starting a revolution. Best mechanical failure I ever fixed." Raven moved closer. "Though I'm still not sure about these diplomatic dinner parties. Give me a broken quantum drive any day. You handle them better than you think." Nyx's armor shifted, matching the patterns in Raven's own suit, a synchronized dance they'd perfected over months of partnership. The Centaurian ambassador specifically praised your ability to cut through the static. Their conversation was interrupted by Thorn's arrival. The former resistance leader now managed interworld technology exchange. First speaker, Ambassador Nash. "We've received word from the outer colonies. The last of Vorax's loyalists have surrendered." "Good," Raven nodded. "Though I suspect we'll always need to watch for those resistant to change." "That's why we have you." Thorn smiled. "To help us distinguish between maintaining traditions and maintaining stagnation." After Thorn left, Raven and Nyx stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Their relationship had evolved like everything else, not bound by tradition or protocol, but growing naturally from shared struggles and understanding. "You know," Raven said finally, "back on Earth, we have a saying about mechanics. We don't just fix things, we improve them, make them work better than before. Is that what you've done with me? With Asteria?" Nyx's tone was teasing but held genuine curiosity. "No," Raven turned to face her partner. "That's what we've done together. A mechanic knows when a job needs more than one pair of hands." The moons cast their light across the capital city, illuminating a world transformed. In workshops and council chambers, in diplomatic missions and quiet moments like this, they'd built something unprecedented. A fusion of human practicality and Asterian wisdom, of innovation and tradition. "So," Nyx entwined her fingers with Raven's, "what shall we fix next?" "Whatever needs fixing," Raven replied, smiling at the stars that had once seemed so distant. "That's the thing about maintenance. There's always something that could work better. But now we have the right tools, the right knowledge, and most importantly, the right partner." They finished together, their armor synchronizing one final time as Asteria's moons painted the world in possibilities.